Selam. You know me, I'm Emel from Turkey.
And bonjour, I'm Eileen from Belgium.
So this video will be in English because we are going to make an interview for our history project. Our interviewer is Mr. Hatt. He's our history teacher. So, Elaine, can you explain to us what are we going to talk in this video?
So, thanks to our Mi'kmaq history teacher, Mr. Hatt, we are going to talk about an important day for all the Canadian citizens. Each year, at the 30th of September, Canada remembers the damage caused by the residential school during more than 160 years. We call this day the Orange Shirt Day, and the official name is the National Day for Trust and Reconciliation.
Now that you know what we are talking about in this video, let's start the interview. Hi, Mr. Hatt. Before the beginning, can you introduce yourself first?
Certainly, and I thank you very much for having me here this afternoon. Welcome everyone, and hello from Canada, particularly from the province of Nova Scotia. My name is Arthur Hatt, and I teach here at St. Mary's Bay Academy in St. Bernard, Nova Scotia. And I teach some mathematics, I teach a shop class, and one of the courses I teach, of course, is Mi'kmaq Studies. And I'm very happy that Emel and Elaine have invited me here this afternoon to answer some questions.
Thank you. So our first question is, what is Mi'kmaq? Can you explain us?
Certainly, and thank you again. Mi'kmaq people are actually one of several groups of First Nations people in Canada, and we have probably approximately 50 groups throughout the entire country, and we have 630 communities. And from those groups, we probably would also have around 50 different languages that they would speak. It represented approximately 1.1 million Canadians across Canada. And the Mi'kmaq have actually lived in Atlantic Canada and the eastern United States for probably more than 13,000 years, depending on which researchers you speak with. So they are truly the first peoples of our province here in Nova Scotia, the first peoples of Atlantic Canada. They've occupied Nova Scotia in various river systems. And if you look at part of how they lived in the past, they were very community spirited, very community minded. So there could be like one group of people living on one side of a river and another group on the other side. And then of course they would be in contact, and if they needed to share things across river, or sometimes they would marry someone from across. So there was a very open relationship that way, and they're all about helping one another and becoming part of a bigger family. What else should I say? Here in Nova Scotia specifically, we have 13 communities across the province, and that would be approximately what we would refer to as 42 reserves. And some of the Mi'kmaq or First Nations people would live what we call on reserve, and some would live what we call off reserve. So we have some that are living in with the members of the rest of the community, and some that would specifically live at a specific site. Okay, thank you again for asking the question. And the residential school system is like a darker spot in Canadian history, so something that we are definitely not proud of. And actually what it was a system set up by the Canadian government, and it was administered by the churches here in Canada. And it was a way to try to indoctrinate the First Nations children into Canadian society. But the unfortunate part of this is that when the children were taken, they were stripped of all culture. They weren't allowed to speak their own language. They weren't allowed to do any of the things that they would do at home. So they were actually extracted from their families, taken away. And if you looked at it another way, you could almost say they were kidnapped. And this system ran in Nova Scotia and across Canada, started in the 1830s and didn't finally end. The last school wasn't officially closed until 1996. So actually, when I was a student your age going to school, and this was all kind of sheltered from me, I wasn't aware that other children in the province couldn't come to the same school that I was coming to. That was shocking news for me. And I didn't understand that they were being taken away from their families and that they couldn't share the same type of schooling that I did. So that bothers me deeply. Because we're all part of Canada, and we should all be able to experience the same rights and the same freedoms. And I think I should add a few more things here. So like taken from their family, but once they were at the schools, they quite often experienced like forms of abuse that could be sexually, could be physically, emotionally, psychologically. So this type of trauma has lasted, and it's what we now refer to as an intergenerational trauma because it gets passed on from generation to generation. So again, definitely a part of our history that we're not proud of.
Our next question is, what is our short day?
Can you tell us the story behind this day?
Yeah, Orange Shirt Day started as a grassroots movement from Phyllis Webstad, who was a First Nations from British Columbia. And Phyllis shared her story in 2013 for the first time, kind of openly. And Phyllis was taken from her family, and she was, a member of the First Nations who was taken to one of the schools. And when she first arrived, she's only 6 years old. So I say, imagine yourself as a 6-year-old child. You're just taken away from your entire family. And when she was there, one of the first things that they would do, they take away all your clothing, they take away the possessions that you may have brought with you, and then you get placed in a shower, and you're given new clothes, and you have to have a haircut. So she had just been given this precious orange shirt from her grandmother, and it was like something very special to her heart. And she was so upset and just so shattered when they took it from her, and she cried, of course, and wanted the shirt back, but there's no way. So she never saw that particular shirt again. And that's just part of the trauma that they would put these small children through when they first arrived. And Phyllis shared her story. And then, of course, she spoke to many other survivors from residential schools. And they shared their stories as well, because there's so many stories that would not be unlike the story from Phyllis. And as Phyllis moved this conversation along, then it developed into, we now have what we call the Orange Shirt Society. So the story has progressed along. The Canadian government had recognized this as well in 2021. And we now have what we call, like the students here at school actually call it Orange Shirt Day, but it's beyond that. It's actually what we now call National Reconciliation Day, and it goes across the entire country of Canada. Okay.
Why they choose the 13th September for this? Are there any special excuse for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that one as well. But the 30th of September is actually comes around to an approximate date where they would start taking the children to the residential schools. And it also allows us here in modern day, it allows us to be in school for a few weeks before we have the conversation. So it's like a twofold thing. It was actually, again, the day that they would start, or around that time where they would start taking the children from their homes to place them in the residential schools. And now to interpret this for us, to have a little meaning for us in the modern day, they allow us to get to school a little bit, get under the flow of things, and then we can continue the conversation as well. So that's what we're doing this week actually in Mi'kmaq class. Like, we're preparing for what, again, here we commonly call it Orange Shirt Day, but it goes beyond that. So it's like a time where we can think about things, reflect on things in the past, and sit down and be able to have conversations and think of how we can move forward in the future so that things like this never happen again, but also that how we can help the people that suffered all the trauma, how they can help to heal, and how we can be part of that and help them through their healing process. And it all starts with great conversation. We sit down and we can talk about things and then discuss together in a group how we can move forward and help one another. So that we can all be happy. As again, we're all Canadians and we should all enjoy the same rights and freedoms.
Yeah, it's really important for every person, I think, not only Canadian, to understand
that every people need to know this type of things for the being more support you and like that. So, and their story is a little upset because it's like to taking the line from the forest and put the zoo. It will be like that, I think, to them because they are not with their family. They are 6 years old. I think it feel like that to them.
Yeah, some of them were so young, and the part that we didn't actually speak up here too, but some of the children never ever saw home again.
Yeah, I read a book that you gave me, and the writer of this book compared the residential school to concentration camp.
Yes.
It seems extreme, but I can understand why she do that comparison.
Yes, and we have to realize too that like the children here were like so young when they were taken from their families, and the traumas that they put them through. And recently we have discovered more. We use like a radar system so that we can penetrate the ground and discover. And there's varying numbers depending on which agencies you speak with. But you can see a number that speaks of like approximately 4,000 children, and some agencies report upwards to 6,000 children. So these children never made it home again. They never ever were able to meet or speak with anyone in their family again, and they are buried on these properties throughout Canada. So it is like a terrible time in our history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sad for them. And actually, you answered this question, but I want to ask it again.
Okay.
For the miss, if someone miss while you are speaking, like why this day is so important in Canada? Actually, you answered this question. But
Okay, right. But I don't certainly speak of this again because it's so important for us. And here at school, like it opens up conversation as well around anti-racism and anti-bullying, so we can conduct those conversations as well. But it's important for all Canadians to just reflect and to think about this thing that has happened in our past that we certainly cannot be proud of, and we've recognized it, and now we can sit down and have some conversations and just talk about it, get it out in the open so that everyone can speak their piece. And from here, we can have like intelligent conversation again to move forward. And I think for me, one of the most important part of this is to, yes, acknowledge and recognize that it happened. But then again, we are all part of Canada, and we need to very much like say, yes, we're all one big family, and we need to move forward this. So how can we help these people heal? Because it's been passed on from generation to generation. And that's never going to end unless we carry forward and do something with it. So that's why I'm very happy to be teaching the Mi'kmaq class, because if I can encourage my students to take this step forward, like I'm getting older now, but that, I can still have some conversation, but I need the young people to continue that conversation because, us older folks won't be around forever. So I need this conversation to continue so that we can help everyone try to heal. And then we can all move forward together in a much happier Canada.
so this day is actually like to support the people that from the residential school system, and like the most important things to support is like actually the conversation with the young generation. So
Yes.
they will know the about this issue, and they will understand them, I think, about emotionally, traumatically. So
Yes.
this is one of the supportive way for them.
Yeah, and it's even important that we, as exchange students, we take this little part of your history in our country like that. We can talk about that and make the people of our country more aware of what happened in our world. So it's really important.
That's very touching. I thank you so much, both of you, for saying that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we are thank you again. We are so glad that you answer our question, and you help to us about know more things about this issue.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Merci.
Merci.
Goodbye. So thank you for us to follow this video. We are really glad to have Mr. Hatt to answer to all our questions.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
And we hope it was an interesting video for you guys, and like you enjoy about the Canada history and want to learn more things about that. So see you at the next video.